Why do you think so many people only start to thrive after they leave the environment that once limited them, as in your case?
I think the answer to that is in the question.
Well, I want to hear your voice.
There were some limitations to the things that I can do, but I also think that gives you perspective. Because when you stay in a place for too long, you start confusing familiarity with fulfillment. And that's also what I felt on myself, getting into that comfort zone. And I realized that nothing good can happen from the comfort zone. I need to step out of it. I need to challenge myself more and more. And if I want to get more in life, but once you step outside of that, everything starts to change. For me, also going back in time, like leaving Romania at 19 broke somehow every assumption that I had about who I was. And I learned independence, resilience, and actually how to build something from zero. And I have already that knowledge from the past that I can also apply now in my future, even though I'm 32 years old. And a lot of people ask me like, Mihai, or told me, Mihai, you're crazy. Yeah, I don't like those excuses that it's difficult, it's different. And as I said before, I don't believe that growth comes from familiarity and comfort zone. It comes, or it happens when you stretch between who you are and who you want to become. And that's where it actually grows.
What were more precisely those moments, feelings, thoughts that brought you to that point of deciding that, okay, I'm leaving Denmark?
Yeah, I had everything that I thought I wanted. It was the good salary, the good life, a respected job and all of that. But at some point I thought I entered in a sort of a comfort zone where I felt like very comfortable with going to work, with living in that routine, like from Monday to Friday, from 8 to 4, I'm at the job, and then I go back home, I walk my dog, I have dinner, I go to sleep. That was like mainly my life, to say so. And then and at some point I was like, this is not the life that I want. This is not the day-to-day routine that I want to have in my life. And yeah, I really felt that need to make a change in something. And to be honest, I didn't feel like Denmark is necessarily the place to do that. I had a feeling that I needed to do my own company, to do my own thing, and I really like this industry. And I always had like somewhere in the back of my mind the thought that at some point I would like to go back to Romania and return to real estate. And yeah, it was more things one after another, me realizing that the comfort zone, me realizing that that's not necessarily the life that I wanted, me realizing that everything was fine, but I had the feeling that nothing is exciting anymore. And Denmark is so comfortable that you stop questioning things. And it teaches you to live. It teaches you to live well, but not necessarily to live, I don't know how to say, passionately. It sort of becomes a routine. And one morning I remember waking up and thinking, if I keep doing this for another 10 years, will I be proud of myself? And the honest answer was no. I wanted to build something of my own, something that had meaning beyond that security from the society, the financial security and everything that is included.
Hello to everyone. Today's topics will be about belonging, identity, adaptation, and reinvention. How the challenges of living abroad can become the foundation for personal and professional transformations. So today I have my guest. I have with me Mihai Dima. Hello, Mihai, and welcome. Thank you for being here with us today.
Hello, Mirella, and also thank you very much for inviting me to the podcast.
That's my pleasure. Can you tell us a little bit about you, please?
Yes. So as you said, my name is Mihai. I've been living in Denmark for a bit over 12 years, doing a lot of different things. I went there for studies, and then I ended up working in one of the biggest fashion companies in the world, in bestseller. And then around 1 year and 1 month ago, I decided to move back to Romania and to leave everything that I started in Denmark and to actually start a new life here back home. So that is more in general lines, a bit of my story.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So, as you just said right now, you have spent over a decade in Denmark, right?
yes.
So, what originally brought you there, here in Denmark, there in Denmark, and how do you look back on that chapter of your life?
Yes, this is actually a very interesting story because I left Romania when I was 19.
Oh,
And to be honest, I had no plan. I had no connections. I had no more than a suitcase.
I know something about that. The same for me.
Yeah,
Exactly. And
exactly.
it becomes more harder, literally, in
Yeah,
every
but
way.
it was that stubborn belief that I could find a better version of myself somewhere else, and that was not because Romania was bad. I was already working in real estate before I left Romania, and I
Oh,
was having
okay.
like good results. But I had that feeling that I want to try something new and see how it works somewhere else, to get a different opinion on life, to see a different culture. And I was always a very curious person. And
Mm-hmm.
at that age, you don't think that much about the risk because, yeah, you are 19, you are young, you can do many things in life, and you just feel that fire inside you that need to explore, that to see how far you can go actually. And for me, Denmark represented everything that I needed at that point. It was structured, it was calm, it was a society that functioned on trust and respect. But at
Exactly.
some point, reality hits you because I'm
Oh, that's a good one. Thank you.
yeah, because I moved there, and yeah, it's also a very expensive country compared
Yeah.
to the eastern part of Europe, let's say. And I needed to find work, and in on that note, my first jobs were very tough.
Mm-hmm.
It was from fixing roofs to working in chicken factories to loading trucks in night shifts and working in warehouses in night shifts. And I had for a while, yeah, I moved there in August, and from September until November, no, until December actually, I had a 7 out of 7 night shift job in a warehouse that was happening at the same time when I was studying. And I have a very funny story here because it was a period where I couldn't see the daylight that much.
Oh
It
my
was
goodness.
more like trying to find the balance between going to work in the night, going
Mm-hmm.
to school in the daytime, and
Yeah.
then in the afternoon and the evening going back home to sleep.
Mm.
So it was a very tough period. But I remember that one day we finished work a bit earlier, and I had maybe around 1 hour before we started the courses, and it was me and my roommates that we were working in the same place. And we decided, let's just go to the university. Maybe we sleep for half an hour and then we go to courses. And without knowing, it was already like 12:30, and we were sleeping in the canteen. And I don't know how many
Oh
people
my
passed
God.
by us and how many pictures of us were there, but it was, yeah, that
No.
was mainly the
You could
experience.
definitely do that only when you have that range of age, because
Exactly.
otherwise it will be literally like
Yeah,
draining.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when you think about your time in Denmark,
Mhm.
what were the biggest cultural and emotional adjustment that you had to make then?
The first thing that hits you in Denmark, it's not actually the language, which for me as Romanian it used to sound very weird before I started to learn it and to understand it, but it was the silence. Coming from Romania where life is loud and warm and spontaneous, and Denmark felt almost like very still, that people don't rush, they speak calmly, they listen before they respond, and that was very new to me. And I first that mistook that calm or silence for coldness, and it was not
Mhm.
necessarily
That's a good
true.
point. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, but over time I understood that it's just another way of seeing the life in a more quiet, deeper, maybe more stable way
Hmm.
that Denmark actually teaches you to do. And I learned in the Danish
Definitely.
culture that you earn trust through consistency, not just through words. And when you show up, you deliver, you respect others' time. That's when people actually start to trust you. And emotionally, I had to adapt to something that I didn't experience before, the feeling of being on the outside somehow. And not because people rejected me, because that was not the case, but because belonging in Denmark, actually, I saw that it takes time, um, and you don't become part of their circle overnight. You just have to
Mhm.
be patient to understand the rhythm, and once I did it, I found something beautiful also in that slowness, if I can say like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I can say that it taught me about presence. It taught me about valuing the small things.
Mm-hmm.
And even a dinner with a handful of friends that can feel very special compared to how my life used to look like after I moved to Denmark with lots and lots of international friends. And we were at some point, I think, a group of 40, 50 people that were going out together. And it was crazy. But at some point, I made that shift into adapting to the Danish culture and having those more circles and more genuine connections. And in a way, I started to appreciate that as well, even though it was not grounded in me, but it felt like something new that I wanted to explore.
Wow, that's so. Denmark, it's often described as both open and reserved, as we have just talked about it right
Mhm.
now. How
Yeah.
did you experience that balance as a professional and as a person, as an individual?
That's a very good question, actually, because that's the most interesting contradiction about
Yeah,
Denmark. It's a
yeah,
country that welcomes you with open arms,
yes,
but it may take years before it
yes,
lets you in its heart, let's say.
yeah.
Professionally, it was amazing. Like once you prove your value,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of trust that you get.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe I was lucky, or maybe I was very good at what I was doing, but I didn't have like no micromanagement and stuff like that because I felt
Mm-hmm.
like people would trust me and that I was given space to create, to lead, to actually contribute to something. Even though when I started, I was an intern, I was giving a lot of responsibility, even though I was an intern in that. And now I'm talking about when I started to work in bestseller in Jack and Jones. But on the personal level, the society gives you some sort of freedom, but also keeps its distance.
Mm-hmm.
Friendships, especially with Danish people, are built very slowly and not, as I said before, not through words, but that takes time. In Romania, when you meet someone twice, you can expect them to invite you to dinner or something. But in Denmark, that can take a long time to happen. And in the beginning, I remember that it used to frustrate me, but later I realize how deep the relationship are once you cross that invisible line.
Mm-hmm.
And that the Danes, they might seem reserved, but once they let you in, I cannot say it's for life, but it's very genuine. And that's something very beautiful about the life in Denmark. This balance between openness and reserve, I can say that it taught me something about myself too, that connections don't need to be loud, don't need to be um, I don't know how to say, very dynamic, very,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's the quiet that actually lasts the longest.
Yeah, definitely. The deeper part of it. So,
Exactly.
in this regards, what was the hardest part of building a genuine connection in Danish
Mhm.
society, both professional and socially? What was
Mm,
the hardest part? You
yeah,
know.
the easy answer to this one is being an outsider, because I
Mm-hmm.
felt like an outsider for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, when you arrive in Denmark as a foreigner, you quickly realize that people will be kind, they'll be polite, they'll be respectful, but that doesn't mean belonging. And especially in my work life, I needed to prove myself twice, once
Mm-hmm.
as a professional
Yeah.
and once as a foreigner. And I remember how much effort it took to build that credibility with every meeting, with every project, with every presentation. It had to be perfect. And I always had that feeling that if something goes wrong, everything can go wrong from there. So I
Mm-hmm.
needed to prepare myself in the best way possible to make sure that what I deliver, yeah, I don't necessarily believe in the word perfect, but close to perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the end, that constant pressure, I have the feeling that it made me better. And
Mm-hmm.
socially, that was also hard because, as I said, there is this invisible wall between friendliness and closeness.
Mm-hmm.
And you spend months having nice conversations, but yeah, friendships or building friendships takes years. Um, and
Were you
that
talking
I
Danish already, like fluently, or it's still in English? I'm just curious.
No, it was mainly English, but I
Mm-hmm.
could I could pick Danish at a medium level, let's say. Yeah.
So looking back, do you feel like that living in Denmark shaped your mindset somehow to some degree, your values and or the way you lead today?
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah,
Mm.
and for Denmark, I thought that leadership actually was about direction, telling people
Mm.
what to do, setting goals, pushing for
More
the results.
manager, like as a manager, not as a leader, because they are two different things, completely
Yeah,
different things. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Or as we say, is a very popular term in Romania, not to be a boss. And everybody's talking
Bossy.
about
Yeah,
not being a boss, trying to be a leader and all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But Denmark taught me that leadership is actually about trust. And it's about building an environment where people don't need to be controlled because they understand why they are doing and what they are doing.
Yes.
And I learned the value of simplicity through that, where meetings were structured,
Do you apply
efficient,
this in
humor.
your company nowadays? I'm just curious.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
It's like I'm trying to gather everything that I've learned in Denmark and to apply it here.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though I said before that Denmark might seem cold
Mm-hmm.
at some points,
Mm-hmm.
um, especially in the professional life, I can see that it's very empathic in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then moving back to Romania, especially in real estate, I have the feeling that this empathy is missing. That's something that I'm trying to bring with me and to be close to people and
Mm-hmm.
actually trying to understand them, not just be a salesman, sell some square meters and deal is done. I get my money, I'm out of here. I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
build that kind of relationship that also helped me become who I became in Denmark.
Mm-hmm. Many internationals in Denmark describe still nowadays a kind of quiet loneliness again. Did you ever feel that too? And
Mhm.
what helped you navigate it?
I personally believe that everybody that moves abroad feels some sort of loneliness at
Mm,
points.
mhm,
At least for me in Denmark, I had that kind of feeling, especially when I was done with all the partying from the student life and all that. Because it also rains most of the year. It's quite cold. It's quite difficult to do and do a lot of things, to go and do a lot of things outside. The streets are calm, the people are polite, but the life is very structured in a way that it's maybe too peaceful.
mhm,
And I remember, yeah, walking home after night shift or after work afterwards, and watching the lights through people windows. And I would see families sitting together, laughing with a glass of wine. And it felt like at some point watching the life from outside. But I can say that that kind of solitude became also one of my greatest teachers.
mm.
Um, because even though it was hard, it became a form of clarity for me. And I
Wow, that's hits strongly.
Yeah, because I learned to enjoy my own company and go for long walks and to think, to do a lot of effort to rebuild myself from the inside.
That's a good
And
point,
combined
exactly.
with everything like the structure that the country gives you, the work, the studying that I've done, it helps you create some habits or hobbies or that you can also do alone and keep you grounded at the same time. But that,
Mhm.
yeah, slowly that loneliness that we were talking about turns into discipline, and that discipline can also become confidence. It's just a matter of how you use
Wow.
it and how you take advantage of that. Um,
Exactly. I totally agree on that. Absolutely. So these moments of transitions were for you actually and practically a way of hearing more your personal voice, inner
mhm.
voice in that sense, right? That
Yeah.
became afterwards as a process, not only
Mhm.
as a transition afterwards, as a process towards something deeper than you have had ever before, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
it also helped me a lot to focus on myself and to try to reflect on, yeah, my actions, what am I
Mm-hmm.
doing in life, and that's why I said it's a matter of how you see this loneliness and stillness that the
Mm-hmm.
country gives you,
Definitely.
and also an opportunity to focus on yourself. But at the same time, it's also important not to neglect the social life and
Yeah, absolutely.
to
Yeah.
to still be able to have friends and go out, and because yeah, of course you need that.
Did you have had Danish friends? I'm curious. Did you manage
Uh,
to have some of them?
after some
Hmm.
years.
So at this point, what moment of or realization made you decide to return in Romania, and what did that transition feel like emotionally?
Mhm. Well, it wasn't one single moment. It was a
Mm.
slow realization that grew over time, if I can say that. I had everything that I thought I wanted. I had a good salary, I had a good job, a respected job, a stable life, but somehow deep down I started to feel stuck.
Hmm, that's interesting. Say more about it. I think it's very common for many, many internationals, including myself. You have this feeling of being stuck somehow,
Mhm.
somewhere.
It's actually a very interesting thing to talk about because I was feeling stuck while I was having a very good life.
Mm-hmm,
Uh,
mm-hmm,
and as I said, everything was fine, but I had the feeling that nothing is exciting anymore.
mm-hmm.
And Denmark is so comfortable that you stop questioning things.
Ooh,
And it
that's
teaches
so
you to
true.
live. It teaches you to live well, but not necessarily to live, I don't know how to say, passionately.
Mm-hmm,
It sort of becomes a routine. And one morning I remember waking up and thinking, like, if I keep doing this for another 10 years, will I be proud of myself? And the honest answer was no. I wanted to build something of my own, something that had meaning beyond that security from the society, the financial security, and everything that is included. So I made the second hardest decision of my life to go back to Romania, and I left everything behind and yeah, moved back home.
what were more precisely those moments, feelings, thoughts that brought you to that point of deciding that, okay, I'm leaving Denmark?
Yeah, I had everything that I thought I wanted. It was the good salary, the good life, a respected job, and all of that. But at some point, I thought I entered in a sort of a comfort zone where I felt like very
Mm,
comfortable with going to work, with living in that routine, like from Monday to Friday, from 8 to 4, I'm at the job, and then I go back home, I walk my dog, I have dinner, I go to sleep. That was like mainly my life to say so, and then yeah, in
mhm.
the weekends to have some time with friends and stuff like that. um and at some point I was like, this is not the life that I want. This is not the day-to-day routine that I want to have in my life. And yeah, I really felt that need to make a change
Mhm,
in something. And to be honest, I didn't feel like Denmark is necessarily the place
mhm,
to do that. I had a feeling that I needed to do my own company, to do my own thing, and I really like this industry. And I always had like somewhere in the back of my mind the thought that at some point I would like to go back to Romania and return to real estate.
mhm,
And then I thought that that's the perfect moment for me to do this change.
mhm.
Um, and yeah, it was more things one after another. Me realizing that comfort zone, me realizing that that's not necessarily the life that I wanted, me realizing that I want to do more with my life.
When you came back home, what's changed in how you saw yourself and your work professionally?
As I got adapted to the Danish culture and to the way that the things are working there. And even though I was moving back home, it was still at some point where I changed, but also the country changed, and I needed to readapt to the way that the things are happening
Again, yeah.
here. It's a different energy here. It's faster, maybe a bit more emotional as well, unpredictable. And somehow I realized that I missed that. And yeah, I started my own real estate business and everything with everything that I brought from abroad. As I said, the main focus is that empathy that I was talking about, that I'm trying to integrate in the real estate business, and that actually became my foundation together with the discipline and the strategy that I gathered throughout the years. And I can say that at this point in my life, I no longer chase results, and I focus more on the relationship that I built. And really helping the people, really being there for them. And for me, I realize it's more important that my customers are happy and
The
getting a
connection.
recommendation from them.
Hmm.
Yeah, then the money that they can make from a transaction.
Well, not to be hypocrite, but all have to live in within this society, having money, because
Hmm.
without you cannot.
Yeah.
It's very simple as it is, or such.
Yes.
So, but I totally understand you from that point of view of integrating and connecting the empathy within your work,
Hmm.
within your job. It's so
Exactly.
important. And
Yeah.
nowadays, people, they are living so much within their heads, and only with the logic side part of the brain instead of
Hmm.
the other side of part of the brain, which is related strictly to and mainly to the emotional side of it.
I think that right now it's actually a battle between what you feel emotionally and what you feel rationally.
Yeah,
Because if you manage to put those two together, then you can really have success in what you do. But I also discovered that in my life and before, I used to measure everything or measure the success by titles, by metrics, by
so
money
common,
and
so
everything. Yeah,
cliche.
yeah, now it's more like I measure it by the impact that I do and how people feel working with me. And of course, the financial part is also important. And I'm also doing it for the financial part. I would be a hypocrite to say not to. Um, but as I said, it's more important for me to know that if I help somebody find a home, buy a house or rent an apartment or something, that they're happy with my services and that they, even though I get a paycheck out of that, that they would also recommend me to their friends or to their
So,
family, and that means more than let's say €1,000 paycheck.
mhm.
It's that kind of building relationship that you can go on and on and on and on based on recommendations, and I think that's the beauty of working in real estate and working with empathy and with discipline and transparency all together. Because people, I realize that at least in Romania, people miss that. People miss salespersons, not necessarily in real estate, but people miss salespersons that are close to them, that they're trying to understand them and to actually understand their needs and work with that.
I don't think
Um,
it's only in Romania. Again, as I have
mhm.
just mentioned earlier, I think it's a tiny bit broader than just in Romania. It's a little bit
Yeah.
also in other countries as well, as I have been traveling a lot as,
Mhm.
too. So I noticed this part, being myself an empath and working on emotional side of
Mhm.
human side.
Yeah.
I think people start nowadays to pay less attention, but because again, I repeat myself, they don't have the knowledge on how to
Mhm.
integrate that empathy.
What I wanted to do in Romania was a business based on discipline, strategy, and empathy, and being close to people, being very transparent to people. Because I think, especially here, from what I've seen working also throughout the years with different real estate agents, in, for example, renting different apartments and so on, I somehow saw the need in the market that people need more empathic salespersons to work with.
That's a
um,
good
and
one.
that also comes from my personal experience, not from what I think the market needs.
When you came back in your home country
Yeah.
in Romania, how actually emotionally you had to adjust yourself in order to reintegrate again within the
Mhm.
society in your home country.
And this is very interesting because I've seen a perception of people that if you're coming, especially from a more Nordic country, it
Mm,
doesn't matter if it's Denmark, Norway, Sweden, or
mhm,
whatever, um, they have a different perception as if you're coming from France, let's say.
mhm.
Uh, I think that they think about people coming back or moving back from Romania from the Nordic countries as people who lived a very good life, that they are very comfortable with a lot of money, and that they don't really understand how society works. And that was my feeling when it comes to everybody that I talk like strangers. When I
Mhm.
told them that I moved back from Denmark, and yeah, I want to do things in Romania and so on, and they were like, I didn't expect them to be impressed, but they were like, yeah, I don't care. It was
Mm-hmm.
that kind of feeling that I needed to somehow go through. And as I said, it was more like retaking the process that I had in Denmark. Like I needed to reprove myself
Mm-hmm.
and to prove that, yeah, I'm coming from a country that has very big salaries compared to Romania and Eastern
Mm-hmm.
Europe, a very good structure in the society and all that. But I'm not a Dane, and I'm still a Romanian, and I still understand the Romanian culture, and I still like and love the Romanian culture, and can still adapt to everything that is happening here.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, I cannot lie, it was a bit of a struggle in the beginning, um, to show to people that, yeah, what I want to do is actually good.
How actually they did react towards your new approach, let's call it like that. I'm
Yeah, there are a
curious.
lot of people saying that, yeah, we don't need more real estate agents, we have enough, and
Mm.
the things are already going, but they're not actually. And I had that feeling that people are saying that I'm coming from a position of superiority because I also come from
Mm.
Denmark, which has a specific image in this part
Yes, yes,
of
definitely.
Europe. But I'm also coming from management positions,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so that was already an add-on
Mm-hmm.
to that. And a lot of them had the feeling that I'm coming from a superiority kind of position to them. And that's really not the case because, yeah, as I said, I want to work with empathy, and it doesn't matter that I've been a digital sales manager in Denmark. I'm
Mm-hmm.
now in Romania. Yeah, I have my own business, but at the end of the day, I'm a very simple real estate agent
Yeah.
because I don't have other people to work with me. I work independently. I do everything from calling property owners to trying to get leads to talking to clients to do the marketing. I'm actually doing everything on my own right now.
So, why do you think so many people only start to thrive after they leave the environment that once limited them, as in your case?
I think the answer to that is in the question.
Well, I want to hear your voice.
Yeah, because yeah, when you yeah in an environment that once limited them, I I cannot say that I felt limited in any way. There were some limitations to the things that I can do, but I also think that gives you perspective, because when you stay in a place for too long, you start confusing familiarity with fulfillment. And that's also what I felt on myself getting into that comfort zone. And I realized that nothing good can happen from the comfort zone. I need to step out of it. I need to challenge myself more and more. And if I want to get more in life, um, and then because in when you are in that familiarity and comfort zone, you cannot see your own patterns, you cannot see your own steps. But once you step outside of that, everything starts to change. For me, also going back in time, like leaving Romania at 19, broke somehow every assumption that I had about who I was. And I learned independence, resilience, and actually how to build something from zero. And I have already that knowledge from the past that I can also apply now in my future, even though I'm 32 years old. And a lot of people ask me, like, Mihai, or told me, Mihai, you are crazy. You are moving from a place where you are very
Oh, I
good.
heard this so many
And
times as well. Yeah, I know the
yeah, and
feeling.
you take everything from zero. You start to build
Yeah,
something from scratch.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I don't like those excuses that it's difficult, it's different.
Exactly. It's just
It's
really
like,
as simple as it is, staying in your
mm,
comfort zone, which means directly and simple, one thing, simple thing is
yep,
to just accepting already a version of yourself that you already know and you're fine with
mhm,
that.
exactly,
So it's just really about being courageous, really simple as it is.
exactly. And as I said before, I don't believe that growth comes from familiarity and comfort zone. It
Yes.
comes or it happens when you stretch between who you are and who you want to become. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where actually grow comes in.
Mhm. Did you felt, at least in the beginning, when you came back in your home country in Romania, did you felt a stranger somehow in some degree at some point?
Honestly, to some extent, yeah, I felt like a stranger. even though everything was familiar, the language, the food,
Of
the
course.
energy, people.
Yeah, but it's not
Um,
everything.
mhm.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, but it also uh, plays a big part because I've been away for 12 years. I adapted to a specific culture, to a specific society, and now I'm moving back where things are happening differently. Um, but with time, I realized that this is exactly what I needed, that kind of difference, that um, more energy, more dynamic kind of lifestyle, more drive, more raw human connection, let's say. Um, and I'm very happy because right now I'm surrounded by people who actually dream big, they move
Oh,
fast.
that's the secret, guys. That's the
Yeah,
secret.
and they live
Absolutely.
with that kind
Totally.
of intensity that I also want to have in my life. And
Yeah.
that's the most important thing that was missing from my life while I was living in Denmark. Because from all of those years being both an outsider but also a dreamer that I wanted to do great things,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, when you move abroad, you experience uncertainty in every form of it, and not knowing the language, not fitting in, not feeling seen enough as you may wish to. And over time, you start to understand people differently. You see what they need beyond the words. And in real estate, I apply the same principle. Like buying or renting a home is an emotional process in the end. It's not about square
It
meters. It's
is.
not about the prices. It's not about the location. It's how you feel in that place. Of course, everything else matters as well. But when they are looking at the place, they are looking for safety, they are looking for identity, they are looking for a place to feel familiar and to call home. And that is also my job to guide them through that. And I think that's a very human approach, not to rush them and not to be the classical salesperson, like those are the advantages, those are the benefits that and focus only on that and price and negotiations and everything, but to actually be human and help them in a human way. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, empathy and clarity are what I wish I had more also in my own journey.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also why now they are the heart of how I work.
So, do you think also your years abroad help you understand people emotional side of home in a deeper way?
Um, yes, and yeah, as I said, this is a very deep question because when you live abroad for that long, home
Mm-hmm.
actually stops being a physical place.
Mm.
And it becomes more a feeling, smell of food, the sound of your own language, or the people that you feel familiar with. Um, and yeah, in the end, that kind of comfort of being understood without explaining yourself. Because before, when I referred to the word home, it was actually home. But then being abroad, I started to feel like home, not having my home there, if that makes sense.
Ooh, for home is such a confusing word because it can actually confuse you at a certain point while you are abroad and having an experience
Mhm.
abroad. It's like, okay, but I feel stuck and I really don't know anymore where is home for me or what does it mean for me the word home or it's a
Mhm.
physical place, it's an emotional thing to feel more where you feel loved, when you feel where you feel appreciated, might be
Mhm.
professionally or as a person, as an individual. For me, home where I actually can really be myself. As simple as
Exactly.
it is not a physical place for me. It's more conscious and emotional part of it.
It's interesting to see that with time it gets a different meaning. Like
Yeah,
when we
definitely.
are kids, home means where our parents are.
Yes,
And
definitely.
home is where you go to after you finish school or whatever
Yeah.
you do as a kid. But then also in our stories,
Mm-hmm.
when you move away from home,
Mm-hmm.
home actually becomes a feeling.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
yeah, as you said, that place where you can really be yourself, even though you are 2000 something kilometers away
Yeah.
from what you used to call home.
Yeah.
And the most important part and the most beautiful thing is to try to create your home wherever you are and
Mm.
to surround yourself with the people that make you feel like home, to do
Exactly.
things that are homey to you and to feel comfortable and all that. It's not a place. That's why I'm saying it's more a feeling than a place.
So, what role do identity and purpose play in your work today beyond business and success?
I would say that purpose. Um, and identity put together are actually the foundation of what I do. Because when I was younger, as I also mentioned before, success was categorized as more. It could be more money, more recognition, and all that. But then after those 12 years, I realized that more isn't always better, and that the purpose gives you a meaning in all of this process, and it helps you to identify and gives direction to your success. And
That's so cool.
yeah, also now in my business isn't, as I said, and I'm repeating myself a little bit here, isn't about the transaction and the financial success and all that. Is more the transformation that I want to implement. I want people to feel that real estate can be done with empathy and with trust and with that humanity that we were talking about. And that also comes from a point of identity and purpose, that was part of your question. And yeah, purpose reminds me like why I came back, and that is like basically to build something of my own, but to do it in a way that helps others.
Mhm. So, what advice would you give to someone who feels stuck abroad, in Denmark or elsewhere, unsure whether to stay, adapt, or start over somewhere else, maybe in their home country?
I now thinking back in my life, I also realize that I'm that kind of person that likes to take risks. But
Mm-hmm.
the advice that I would give to someone is just to listen to yourself. And I also had friends, like after I moved back to Romania, another friend of mine decided to move back, taking my example. I'm like, if you believe that, do it. If you don't feel like doing that, then just stay back in Denmark and stay there for a few more years. But if you truly believe that this is the right solution for you, then do it. Don't do it because I did it or take my example for granted or something like that. So my advice would be just listen to yourself and not to the fear, not to people's opinion, because also a lot of people were asking me like or telling me that I'm crazy, that I'm living my life in Denmark and I'm starting something from scratch here. Um, but I believe that if you feel stuck, is usually a sign that your life somehow no longer fits who you become. If
Exactly, totally agree.
the,
Yeah. That's
um, and in that point, I think the best idea would be not to rush to leave or stay, but to give your space, to give yourself space to see what's missing and to understand what's missing. Because maybe you are stuck from something that you can actually fix and not necessarily leave a place. Or sometimes you are stuck, as it was in my case, that I wanted to do more and I didn't feel like Denmark would be the place for me to do what I wanted to do in my life. Because yeah, as I said, when I left, people thought that I'm crazy, and
yeah.
that's something that I also tell everybody that wants to make a big change in your life. Just listen to yourself. Don't listen to what others say to you or what others feel. Just listen to yourself because you have all the answers within you.
Yeah, how can moving through cultural discomfort actually teach us confidence and self-trust then?
First of all, I think that discomfort strips away illusion.
Mm,
And what I mean by that is that when you move abroad, you lose your safety nets. You face the world that is so different to what you are used to. Nothing is familiar anymore, and you need to learn how to stand by your own.
mm,
You need to adapt. You need to fail many times. You need to rebuild yourself, and with each step, your confidence stop depending on the circumstances. It starts to depend on you, and I think that's also where the self-trust doesn't necessarily come from success, but is more like a mindset. And it might sound harsh, but it also comes from survival. And that's also something that I've seen in my first years in Denmark, because those times were not easy at all. Yeah, I needed to be in another country with a limited amount of money, and
mhm.
actually for a few months, my life was actually in the survival mode.
Yeah, I
And I
know that.
didn't realize that much that Denmark is different in those months. I just said, okay, I had this mindset like, okay, I need to go to work, I need to leave, I need to start to adapt to this new place that I'm in right now. Um, and yeah, every winter, every setback, every quiet moment in a foreign country becomes proof that I could actually rely on myself.
Mm.
Um, it might sound very independent, maybe, but that's my mindset to say so. And that's why I believe that cultural discomfort is not necessarily a punishment.
Mhm.
And if you know how to use it right, it can become an advantage.
I have just one final question. I call it a note to your past self ritual. If you could sit with your younger self, the one about just to start his journey abroad, like in Denmark, for example,
Mhm.
what would you tell him about growth, purpose, trusting the timing of this path, doing this path?
It would be the same with the advice that I would tell to anyone. Just listen to yourself. If you
Mm-hmm.
feel like doing it now, just do it now. If you feel like doing it later, do it later. I don't believe that there is the perfect timing to do so or to
Mm-hmm.
move abroad. And also, if I could have like a small reflection on myself and how I feel, um, I don't want to sound like I don't appreciate it because I learned a lot in Denmark and it really
Mm-hmm.
shaped who I am. But sometimes, especially after I moved back to Romania, I'm also asking myself if I did the right choice.
Ooh, that's a really tough one.
Yeah. So, yeah, indeed, I was very curious to see other cultures, to see how things are going elsewhere outside
Mm-hmm.
Romania. But there is also that small part of me that is still wondering, was living 12 years in Denmark the right choice to make? What would have happened if I would have stayed here and if I would have continued in real estate? But now I
Mm-hmm.
feel that it doesn't necessarily represent myself as a person.
Okay,
Um,
wow,
and
this is
that's
really
why I'm
interesting.
saying that. And after I moved back, I was talking to a lot of friends and also like friends from Italy that I made in Denmark that they also moved back to Italy. And yeah, everybody's telling me like, Mihai, you have such a different energy.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like you are a different person after you move back. And that's something that also made me question if actually those 12 years in Denmark were aligned to me as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
learned a lot. I met very nice people, and I'm very grateful for all of those 12 years. But now being back in Romania, I realized that yeah, something was missing. In this moment, even though yeah, there are a lot of things to do, there's a lot of things that I also needed to take from scratch and so on. I feel more fulfillment in what I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing, and I think it's
Mm-hmm.
for a greater purpose. I feel more. How can I say it in the best way? I feel more alive. The country itself also helps you to feel more alive, meaning that yeah, you do your thing in the work week, you meet with your customers, you do your job, you make your transactions and everything. But then also during the weekend, it's very easy to go and spend the weekend in the mountains. You have a lot of things to do, even though your day is finished from a work perspective, but you also
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of things to do until late in the night. If you want to go out with friends on a Tuesday at 10, you have lots of places where you can go.
Mihai, thank you so very much for being here with me, with us today. It meant so much for me having you here because we have had so many points of reflections as being humans
Mhm.
and going through these transitions, life transitions that actually can help us, but also can break us. I hope that also for others, for those who actually might be in an uncertain point of their lives,
Mhm.
might help them with some, informations or point of views, different point of views that might be helpful for them to take the right decisions in their lives.
Yeah. I also thank you very much for inviting me here. It was a very deep conversation and very deep questions that yeah you don't necessarily think about on the day-to-day life. But but with all my answers, if I can help somebody also make a change in their life, or I also had a lot of friends, as I said, that took my example and also moved back to Romania, um, and also other people just writing to me, how is it to do this change and so on. So if I can help anybody, I will do it with great pleasure.
So if anybody want to reach you out, like how they can do that.
Yeah, it could be either on maybe the best would be on Instagram,
Okay.
and then
Okay.
we can continue the talk there.
Okay, perfect. Again, thank you so very much, Mihai. It was such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very
Mihai's
much as well.
stories remind us that sometimes growth doesn't happen where we first plant our roots. Living abroad can stretch our limits, challenge our confidence, and test our sense of belonging. Yet, it also shapes who we become when we finally return home. What stands out in Mihai's journey is not just the professional success he found after leaving Denmark, but the emotional maturity and clarity that came from the struggle itself. His story is a proof that the difficult chapters, the silence, the loneliness, the search for connection often prepare us for the space where we are meant to thrive. If there is one message to take from today's conversation, it's that living isn't failure. Sometimes it's the beginning of alignment. So if you want to reach Mihai, you can find him on Instagram, and please support Rewire to Rise by subscribing to the channel. I would really appreciate it. Until next time, stay sharp.